physical labor, and intense ideological study are used to break a subject's will, or is that the case?
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the first episode of this new season, and we're going to be picking up the storyline from where we left off in the last episode called SCIENTOLOGY. And then at the end of this video, we'll talk briefly about what we're going to be covering on this season on the technical videos, as well as some upcoming news. So, what this is going to be about is, for those that are following along, you know about the Ventura mission. That's where all this madness started. And that's where my dad first saw that ad in the newspaper when I was a kid that said Dianetics. Learn how to handle, your communication problems better, or some shit like that. He went down to the Ventura mission, got into it in a single day, and brought the mind virus known as Scientology back to the family to spread it to all of us. So that's what we're going to be discussing today, because I've been wanting to get to the mission. It just didn't fit into the story until I get back out here to Los Angeles, because where we left off last time is I gave you a background on sort of the three different timelines on what we're going to be covering in the second season on the story part. And the first couple years involve coming down here to Los Angeles, living in a couple of shitty places, near and on Scientology property, going to the Beverly Hills Playhouse and taking acting classes, taking casting director workshops, and basically spending pretty much every day or thereabouts at the Celebrity Center taking courses. So after I'm out in Los Angeles for about a year and a half, the mission where I did all of my training and auditing sucked me back in. And it is a trip. I knew what we were going to be talking about today. It's a trip looking back at this whole thing, because like I've said before, I don't feel like a fucking Scientologist. I spent a lot of time reforming my belief system pretty much from the ground up when I was in my 30s and I woke up, and we'll talk all about it when we get to that point. But when I actually woke up, it was in a single day. And ever since then, it's been a process of, it felt like in my 30s, I was a 6-year-old child. Think about your mind like it's a hard drive or a computer that stores all your belief systems, everything you believe in subconsciously, right? Well, one day it was like having that hard drive completely deleted. And the best way to describe it, because it was this really psychedelic experience that went on for year after year after year. But the way to describe it is basically having amnesia. I didn't really know who I was, where I was. I didn't know what the fuck happened to me. So it was a process of reassembling that whole belief system. And when I look back at this, we're going to be talking about the mission where I spent so much time going through this brainwashing, where I was a true believer, and I love these people at the mission, and I love Scientology, and I really love this technology that I thought I was learning. Even to this day, it's a trip that shit wasn't what it seemed to be, because that's the power of brainwashing and the power of what we believe. And like I said before, if you can implant belief systems into a person's subconscious, which is really easy to do, but you don't know about that yourself, you might go through your entire life absolutely believing this is who you are, this is who I am, this is how I see things, and it could be totally, totally false. So, the reason we're talking about the mission now is because I spent a year and a half out in Los Angeles, thereabouts, and then I got pulled back to the mission via a guy named Mitch Talebi. Before I talk about him, let me give you a little bit of background on the mission. This was a mission that was formed by Tom and Kathy Steiner, who I described in a previous video as two very interesting, ruthless hippies. They're kind of hard to describe in a couple words. They don't really fit any category. And one of the things that I remember too about the Scientology scene in general, especially the mission, is that, you know, they're just different people. Tom and Kathy Steiner, who were the mission holders, would have been unbelievable, like they would have been very productive people in the quote unquote real world, as would a lot of Scientologists, because it's a different world, and the pressure and the stress that's put on the public, let alone the Sea Org members and the mission holders like Tom and Kathy Steiner. The pressure they had on them to make money and to keep this facade going. I mean, they didn't think it was a facade. They believed in it. And again, we're back to the power of belief. When you believe in something on the level they did and I did and we did as Scientologists, you can do amazing things. And, you know, they manipulated the crap out of me and particularly my parents. They got a lot of money out of them. And they took a lot of our lives. You know, our time, our minds. Obviously, they didn't know that they were doing that, nor did we know that we were being brainwashed. But I have mixed feelings when I look back at all these people at the Ventura mission as to what I thought then and how I kind of see them now. Okay, so with that brief background, this is what happened in this part of the story. I got roped back to the Ventura mission for an event that they were putting on over the weekend. I got conned in a very fucked up, sneaky way into signing a 2.5-year contract to join staff full-time, give up my fucking dream in Los Angeles that I just started. And I ended up having to make an escape a few weeks after that because it drove me fucking insane, which we're going to talk about. And then I head back to Los Angeles to continue on with the fucking original dream and plan that I had before these assholes sideswiped it. I've forgotten about a lot of this stuff because I've, you know, moved on with my life, and I never really thought I was like pissed about that. But, you know, when I look at all the obstacles that these people, you know, put in my life. I mean, it's hard enough like trying to make it as a fucking actor, you know. I talked earlier about some of the benefits that it had by feeling like you had a network that you could connect with, but at the same time, the price that I paid for that. There were so many obstacles because of Scientology that never would have been there, that my life, I realize now, would have been a hell of a lot easier. Because I feel fucking made it despite these motherfuckers. Because there was a couple of people that I'm remembering now at the Ventura mission that, with or without Scientology, they're fucking assholes. The majority of the people there and in Scientology in general are victims. But I've also realized it's a place where if you're a sociopath, it's a good place to hang out at and kind of have cover or protection or to act out your fantasies. And there was a couple people that really contributed to almost basically removing like... Anyways, let's get into it. So this guy, Mitch Talevi, he was a superstar of Scientology. He had literally done everything. OT8, all 3 L rundowns. Those are special rundowns that cost a shitload of money, and you have to go to Flag in Florida to do them. He did like the executive briefing course, which is this huge fucking course on executive management. And he did the St. Hill special briefing course, literally fucking everything. This guy was a superstar, and he was known in the Scientology world for doing fucking everything that L. Ron Hubbard released. So he was what's called a field staff member, which is an FSM. And that means that he made a lot of money by getting other people into Scientology. They give you 10% of whatever you, I'm sorry, I'm still fucked up from like just thinking about, sometimes you don't expect shit to come up and I'm just doing a video or whatever, but I'm having trouble getting over being fucking pissed off about this. All right, let me take a moment. So I'm trying to collect my fucking thoughts, man. I knew this was going to be a tough video to do because just because it was going to bring back memories. And all right, let me see if I can get myself back together here and remember what the fuck I was talking about. You see why I fucking smoke during these videos. Long story short, Mitch Tillevy was a superstar of the Scientology world, and he was a field staff member, and he would put on events all over probably the US, probably the world, trying to get people into Scientology. And his big hook was, hey, I'm a magical OT. I've done everything and that Scientology has to offer. And I was able to pay for it. The reason he was able to pay for it, which I never figured out, is because he's making all his fucking money. You get 10% of everything you sell. So he's making all his fucking money, which is how he's paying for the bridge. Plus you get special awards and stuff and free courses and shit. But in the Scientology world, this was a very special guy to go see. And he lived in and around LA, I believe, but I only got to see him a couple times in my Scientology career. So when the Ventura Mission said, hey, we have this guy, Mitch Tillevy, that's speaking at the Ventura Mission, I went down there right away. Now, these motherfuckers, and by motherfuckers, again, man, some of these people are victims and some are just fucking psychopathic assholes. And I don't put Jim Hamry and some of these other people in that boat. Before I get off on all the characters and cast of characters that are at the Ventura Mission, because there's several of them, before I get off track, let me just say that Tom and Kathy Steiner, Jim Hamry, who was the registrar, he was also known as the Hammer because he was so good at what he did. And real briefly about him, because I brought him up a couple times in the past, he died recently in the last couple years, I believe. And like a lot of Scientologists, I don't know the full story, but from what I've heard, he was kind of left out to dry. And I have a lot of sympathy for Jim Hamry, even though he fucked up my parents' life, because he was so good at what he did. He was such an expert registrar. He was so good at selling people. But he had a kind heart, and he was a massive victim because this guy worked his ass off and was under the mission holders, Tom and Kathy's thumb, to be as good as he was. Like I said, it's a totally different world. The kind of pressure and the miracles that people could pull off and the kind of talent that somebody like Jim Hamry had, where he could sell water to a fucking Eskimo and I would just melt into his reg cycles and just buy shit from him, because I could tell he had a good heart and he was a good guy beneath all of the brainwashing that he had been through, like we all had. So he was responsible, as well as Tom and Kathy Steiner and a couple other people, for setting up this ruse where there was a girl that I liked there who was attractive, and everybody probably liked her, and her name was Iris. And she, I would always see her at the mission and shit. And they obviously sussed that I liked her. And when I went down to this Mitch Tillevy event and got blown out of my mind, listening to them talk about OT and how you can get up the bridge. It was a mind-blowing event. And you would often be ecstatic and go into what I was talking about before, a suggestible or hypnotized state, because you're so used to going into it through the TRs and all the training you do, that when you hear an electric speech like Mitch would give, I was in an ecstatic state, and they knew that. I also mentioned earlier, when you're doing courses, when you're doing your TRs, when you're doing your auditing, that's when they'll pull you out of, they'll try to get you right after that because you're in the suggestible state and get you into the registrar to sell a course to you. So you give them a lot of fucking money when you're in this goddamn hypnosis. So that's the state of mind that I was in when they put me in this room. I just went down there for the weekend, right? I wasn't planning on giving up my acting career. And they put Iris, like let's say I'm here and they put me in this room after this event when I'm blown out of my mind. And they're all standing in fucking front of me. And they've been trying to get me on staff and to get me to sign this fucking contract so many times. But I would always resist and tell them no, 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 no. And I was confident in being able to say no because I never wanted to join staff because I knew it fucking sucked and I knew what they went through. I also felt guilty too because I wasn't saving the planet and I was selfishly trying to pursue my dreams. But still, they were never going to get me. But this particular night, man, because like I said, I resisted 100 fucking times. They always hit you up to join the Sea Org or staff or whatever. I always told them to go fuck themselves. But they had Iris sitting right within my eye line, beaming, and all these other people around me. There was like 4 or 5 staff members. Like I said, Jim was in there, the Steiners and shit, who, you know, I had a good relationship with all these people and I trusted them. They were helping me up the bridge. They, you know, I had a bond with them. So after hours of them just coaxing me and getting me to sign this contract, don't you want to save the planet? And meanwhile, like I said, Iris is fucking sitting there like out of my eye line. This was all a setup. This is what they plan. This is what they, you know, this is what they do. And of course I didn't realize this until not that long ago, you know. I mean, it takes a long time to, you know, realize all the little tricks and shit that they do. So anyways, after hours, I'm in this unbelievably ecstatic state. And it's so obvious now I was hypnotized because they only had me in that state for a couple hours. And then when that hypnosis wore off, we'll talk about what happened after that, but it's so easy to see this shit now, man, because they just got me in that state of mind for a couple hours and took me to my breaking point where I was just like in love with saving the planet, in love with Iris. All this shit happening at the same time, and I finally said, I'll fucking do it. I really want to save the goddamn planet. You're right, I am fucking up by just doing my dreams. This is a much bigger purpose. Where do I sign? You know, when you're in that state like I'm describing, I knew that I didn't want to do that. But the power and the pull to do it, it's so hard to describe because I know I knew I didn't really want to do it, but they had me during those couple hours. And I remember driving home that night and I called my mom and I said, I joined staff. And they freaked out because they're like, what are you doing? You're giving up your dream? Are you sure you want to do that? Like, they were hardcore, you need to be a Scientologist. But when it came to staff, and this is the same with a lot of people that have kids that are Scientologists, they may not want them to join the Sea Org or staff because they themselves know how fucked up it is and they don't want their fucking kid in there. So my parents and my mother were, are you sure you want to do this? And I was just like in that state of mind for hours, you know, for a few hours while I'm driving home. Same state that I had when I was done with the Purif, same state when I attested to finishing a grade. It's literally being hypnotized. You're in an ecstatic state of mind and then it wears off after a few hours, a few days, or a week. And so you go back in to handle it again. This is the entire cycle of Scientology while people think they're going spiritual. Anyways, so I said, yeah, Mom, I totally want to do this. You don't understand. I mean, I'm going to save the planet. I wasn't even thinking about Iris. Nothing ever happened anyways. We went out, when I finally, you know, joined staff, we went out on a couple dates, not even dates. They were stupid. They were like, you know, friendship kind of crap. It was a total setup to get me on staff. And then, you know, Iris also was trapped there and she was totally under the Steiner's thumb. She lived at their house and she also was kind of like a hippie chick. There's a lot of hippie people in these cults, right? From fucking Manson to even the Nexium cult shit. They're all like kind of dreamers and hippies and shit. And Scientology has a lot of them, especially in the 50s and 60s. That was a big sell. So not to get off track, but Iris never happened. I'm stuck on staff. And after about a day, I started to question, what the fuck did I do? I just signed over 2.5 years of my life. I moved into the place where Jim Hamry and all these other people were staying, and it fucking sucked because There was a lot of people staying there. I totally was owned by Scientology. Like, you work long hours. Like, right away I was doing like a schedule where I'm like, I'm never going to be able to fucking do this. I had to call up friends while I was on staff and try to get them into the mission. I had to do all sorts of awkward shit where I'm like, dude, I'm not fucking down with this. And this went on for a couple weeks. And finally, because I was dying inside, I was losing my fucking mind, because my subconscious realized, dude, you need to fucking get back to what you were doing. You need to get back to Los Angeles. What are you doing? And, you know, I'm sitting there still in the state of mind thinking that I did the right thing. But now, again, the hypnosis is wearing off. So I'm like, what the fuck did I just do? And if anybody knows, any Scientologist knows, it's you're going to be in a lot of ethics trouble if you make a commitment, like signing a staff contract, especially a Sea Org contract for $1 billion years. I only signed this for 2.5 years, but it's serious business. And if you renege on it, like I ended up doing after a few weeks, which was the whole cycle that we'll talk about here, they put you through fucking hell. So I only lasted a few weeks before I literally had a psychotic break. That's standard, by the way, all throughout a Scientologist's career, is to just be shocked and shocked and shocked, and to literally have mini psychotic breaks. So the basic routine was long hours, living with a bunch of people that are also staff members at the Ventura mission, but basically never being there. You're just there to sleep. And like I said, having to do the most awkward shit. They promise you, they'll say fucking anything to get you to sign that contract. And ex-staff members and ex-Sea Org will tell you that this is true. All the way up until the point that you sign that contract, anything that you're into, let's say you want to be an auditor, you want to train up to class 12, you want to get more auditing and move up the, auditing side of the bridge. Whatever the fuck you're into as a Scientologist, they'll promise you the world. They'll say, yeah, totally, we're going to send you to flag and train you up to class 12. Oh, you want to get your auditing? We'll get you up to clear within 6 months or whatever, all free of charge, because now you're on staff. Because they don't charge you for the services as long as you're on staff. You get everything for free, but then they have a freeloader's debt, which is what I got when you leave. Luckily, it wasn't that big, because the only courses that I had to do was the staff status courses, which is what every staff member takes before they join, which are boring as fuck, and it's just all this, technical garbage of how you're going to be a slave, for the next 2.5 years, or if you're a Sea Org member for $1 billion years. But it's basically the honeymoon phase, the love bombing, motherfucking Irish, throw in, the opposite sex there to fucking hook you in, whatever the fuck it takes. And then as soon as you fucking sign that contract, like everything that I was promised or whatever just went right out the window. And it's like, all right, scrub the fucking floors, call up all your fucking friends that know this is a cult and get them down here, get on the phone. I'm like, I don't want to call these fucking people. They think this place is crazy. Dude, I would get on the phone with some people, man, and just be like, dude, I know, that you think this is crazy, but I'm telling you, Scientology is really good. Can you come down here and just like check it out? Dude, I'd be like fucking shaking on the phone, because I knew my friends thought I was insane. I believed in Scientology, but I wasn't into selling it to my, friends. And now all of a sudden I'm supposed to be in LA, and I'm suddenly with these weirdos, and I'm doing all sorts of staff shit, which I used to watch as a public, and now I'm actually that guy. And it's like, I never wanted to become this guy. I already knew that the staff were treated really shitty. Anyways, I last a few weeks, man, and finally I have a psychotic break. I get in my car and I drive down to the Ventura Beach for like a day or two, and I couldn't even think straight, because I knew I was in deep shit. Because I just ditched staff. I didn't show up one day, and I just drove off down to the beach to try to think. But I wasn't in my right state of mind, because I didn't know what I was doing. The hypnosis was wearing off, so I was regretting the decision, and all I wanted to do was get back to LA. And I felt like I was dying inside, because I gave up my dream, and now I was trapped, because you don't get off. Even though I only was there for a few weeks, it's not like, oh yeah, sorry you made the wrong decision. No. What happens is you get security checked. So they wouldn't let me go for a couple months. I was sitting there paying for auditing, security checks of all the things that I did wrong, overts and withholds is what they call it, that they were trying to find on me. Because from the standpoint of Scientology, if you sign a contract that's called blowing, which means leaving. That means the only reason that you left is because you did something wrong or you had evil intentions against the organization. So my auditor, his name was Wayne, and he was one of the best, by the way. He would always get awards and everything. If auditing was a real profession, he would be a master. Anyway, so Wayne was auditing me day after day after day, trying to find all my evil purposes and this and that. What it's really designed to do, what it's designed to do for every staff member, not just my particular situation, is get you to renege, to feel guilty. Oh, maybe I should. I kept telling Wayne, am I making the right decision? Maybe I am evil. Should I rejoin staff? I mean, I really want to go back out and pursue my dreams, but I'm just being selfish, right? Shouldn't I? I guess I'm making the wrong move. I had to fucking fight him and within myself in order to get out of there. It was such a fucking inner struggle because, again, Scientology plays massively on your guilt. So just day after day, while I'm doing messed work and scrubbing floors, and because I was a bad person during the day, I would have to wait, and they would kind of, make me wait a long time or a couple days to get an auditing session, because you have to get through this routing out form, which is the security check, in order to be in good standing as a Scientologist. And then you can go back to LA, Doug, and pursue your dreams. So I had to follow all the rules or they're going to declare me an SP. I'm going to lose my fucking family. So I don't have a choice. I have to go through this bullshit. And in the meantime, they're making me feel so guilty, and I'm going, whole track. That means into past lives to find out all the evil deeds that I did that made me make this decision to join staff and clear the planet. And all of a sudden I reneged a few weeks later. I mean, they couldn't just be like, hey man, sorry we manipulated you. And, we put this chick in there that you knew you'd like, and we basically, put you in there for 4 hours until you went into a trance state and just sort of in a dream, just like signed the contract. We're sorry we fucked you. That's not how it works, obviously. It's your problem. Anything you do to blow or leave is your fault. And I had to pay for all the fucking auditing in order to be in good standing and go back to Los Angeles. So that's what happened, man. My parents are kind of disappointed. It created this whole fucking guilt, even when I finally did get back there. Another thing that I want to say before we kind of wrap this up, this part is I came to find out later after doing this channel through a source that's reliable that the Steiners, my parents, my dad in particular, because as he got into Scientology, he started to do better and better. They were making all his business decisions and everything for him. And if you let Scientology do that, you might, for a little while, actually start to do well. There's a catch to that. But it's not uncommon for people to take to Scientology and then have their income go up for a while. Not least because they have a tendency to get involved in like scams and shit themselves before it catches up with them. That's not my dad's situation, but he started to make more and more money as he was doing Scientology. So, and he's already a capable guy and shit. So he was always, I found out, at the top of the Steiners list. They would have these ruthless registration cycles where they get all the staff members together to decide and make a list of the top 10 people with the most fucking money that they're going to try to squeeze out that week. They were a fucking money-making machine. Not just the Ventura mission, which was a top money-making machine, but the missions in general back in the day before they were mostly disbanded by Miscavige were money-making machines. So they were absolutely fucking ruthless on going after the top chiropractor that they had. My dad, this and that. And like I said, I found out from this source that my dad was always at the top of that fucking list every week, which he wouldn't know anything about. And even if, let's say he was able to find out, or I told him, he would justify it and say, yeah, well, Scientology helped me. I don't have a problem with that. That's the kind of mindset that it is. So anyways, I never really recovered from that in my Scientology career. It's a bad mark on your record when you're, when I was trying to go up to the OT levels, for example, which we're going to cover in towards the end of this season, that would always come up as Oh, so you were on staff, but you blew. And then all of a sudden there'd be thousands of more dollars to pay for a security check to fix this like 1,000 times. So you get a record in Scientology, a criminal record that it never leaves you. So there you go. That was my brief experience on staff that I then carried with me as a wound in my future Scientology career. But thankfully, it took about 1,005 wounds to get out. So in a weird way, the more Scientology was crushing me, that would determine when I got out. Because I said in a few videos back, this trap is so powerful, the hypnosis that you don't know you're under, to put it in a sentence, is so powerful and so unconscious that once you get caught by it, unless something drastic happens in your life or something smashes you over the head, there's a very good chance you're going to spend the rest of your life in it. Okay, my friends, when we pick up the story next time, we're going to be heading back to Los Angeles, and I wish I could say that that was the worst of it, but that's only the beginning of this fucking story, unfortunately. So when we pick up the technical training films, just to give you a quick idea of that for this second season, like I said before, we're going to be going deep into this, and part of that is going to be going back to Scientology's roots, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, where we can discover put this thing in context, because, you know, there's Scientology, but then there's all the elements surrounding it. And also, I mentioned before, there's nothing new under the sun. So mind control, you know, and the shit we're talking about has been around forever, since known human history. But we don't need to go back into ancient history necessarily to pick up the story and to put Scientology in its proper context so the shit will make sense. So another thing that I mentioned is that I might start interviewing people. I mentioned that in the last video, and I do have an interview lined up with a guy that I'm super stoked to talk to, because he was there. There's like hundreds, if not fucking thousands, of like people, book or, you know, authors, people on YouTube, fucking articles, just endless people that I just got knowledge from who will never know about me just because I was, you know, online or reading books, just trying to, you know, reprogram my mind. And this guy is one of them. His name is H.G. Tudor. And some of you out there might actually know who he is. If you've ever been in an abusive relationship, a narcissist, a psychopath, or a sociopath, and you probably ran across this guy's info. If not, I'll tell you about it more when we actually do the interview. This is my first attempt at an interview, so hopefully, you know, it'll actually happen and I won't fuck it up. But I'm super stoked to talk to this guy. And I just wanted to let you know that in the future, hopefully, the reason I'm bringing him on and other people is because when we do the technical videos along with the storyline, I'm just trying to provide as much information as possible about how this whole thing works. And one of the key aspects, one of them, is to understand sociopaths and narcissists. Not narcissism, but specifically narcissist. And this guy's kind of like the best. He is a self-professed and also he's been diagnosed as such, as a narcissistic psychopath. And I just want to bring as many interesting people on here as you know, as will come on, to offer pieces of the puzzle that will put this whole thing together. Thanks for watching this, my friends. And until the next one, as always, stay safe, stay sane, stay well, and especially during these times, stay awake.